So a client reached out wondering if I could do alterations on a dress that she had got for a formal event. I asked her what exactly she needed. She said she loved the dress, great quality. The dress was just a little too long. She wanted me to shorten it, as well as it seemed a little big, and so she wanted to find out if I could take it in. I was like, okay, come in, let's see what's going on. So she did come in for a initial consultation, but unfortunately I didn't have any pictures of her in the dress. So this is the dress on the mannequin. As you can see, it is super long, definitely needs to be shortened. The part that she said was big really was this part that was just flimsy. So when she wore the dress, it would kind of like bend like that. And so I just said, you probably just need some boning there because it has the corset ties in the back, and that kind of helps loosen or tighten the dress. So I was just going to add boning on that part. There was already boning in the dress, but I was just going to add some extra boning all the way to the top so that it stayed flat instead of go as flimsy as it was. Also, because of the way the dress was made, I needed a point, like a waist point. So those are the pins that I have there. A waist point that I would measure from the waist to the floor to figure out how long she wanted or how short she wanted the hemline to be. So this is the boning that I cut out. I am going to double those pieces just to give it more stability, and there you can see that's where the boning ends, and I'll be putting the new boning right to the top of the peak. Because of the way the dress is made, without taking the dress apart, it was going to be hard for me to get under there to place the boning. So I just went ahead and found a seam at the waist and opened that up to help me turn the dress inside out so that I could actually sew the boning in. If it wasn't for that, I would actually have to take the whole waistline out and then sew it. So this worked out easier. And then that's the space where I will be adding the extra boning. I was just showing you the boning that I doubled and covered in the excess that I cut off from the hem. So that worked. Now I could have machine sewed this on, but again, because of the way the dress was made and how I needed to sew it on, it was going to be very, very hard for me to actually machine sew this. So I opted to hand sew, and that's why I have like the fabric covering so that I have a smooth piece of fabric to sew through and just help keep the boning secure. So that's what I'm doing. Placed it where the excess fabric didn't have the boning and just hand sewing that down. Speaking of hand sewing, my course, Sew Simple Alterations for Absolute Beginners, is open for enrollment. I teach you the basics of sewing, that is hand sewing, machine sewing, and basic alterations that I believe everyone should be able to do for themselves. So be sure to enroll. The link is either in my description box or in the comments. So once I'm done adding and sewing down that boning, I turn it inside out, and you can see it's a little bit more stable, so it won't be folding the way it did originally. So that's good. So once I'm done putting all the boning in both sides, remember I opened up the waist, so I would just be hand sewing that closed, and you won't even be able to tell that that is the spot that I opened up the dress. I'm doing a ladder stitch for those curious, super easy ladder stitch, and that just secures the seam and makes it look like I never touched it. So I move on to the hem, shortening the hem now, and I take the point that I used as my, I would say my waist point to wherever we decided that the hemline was going to fall. So I take that measurement, mark it out on the new hemline, and then I go ahead and see how much of that I need to remove, so the excess that I need to remove. I always give myself about an inch, well, depending on the fabric, I give myself an inch excess, and then mark that out and then cut at that point, so that if the hem is either half an inch or a quarter of an inch, I have enough fabric to fold over and hem. So that is what I'm doing, just marking out the excess, cutting, and then this is in preparation to sew down the hem. I finish cutting the new hemline, and then I go ahead and pin about an inch like so everywhere, and then I press that down just so it gives me a guide for where to sew down my hem. I actually double fold that, and once that's done, I go ahead and sew it down. And I didn't show that in the video, but this is the new hemline at the bottom. Can't see it, but yeah, this is the new hemline, can barely see. So I'm just looking at other parts of the dress where I need to make adjustments, but yeah. So my client came in for another fitting, and you can see the part that was flimsy stayed up straight with the boning, so she was happy with that. I had her do a walk test just to make sure that the hemline was where it needed to be, and she was fine with that, but she mentioned that she was going to be doing some salsa dancing, and so she really wanted the dress to be away from her feet. So she was going to test out the dress at her event, and if it had any issues, if I needed to shorten the hemline a little bit more, then she would bring it back. But this is her in the dress, absolutely gorgeous. Before, after, how did I do?